All right, good day to everybody. I have my last video presentation of my 2025 designs today. We've done the cherry blossom, the sandhill cranes, the dancing koi, and the new version of the At the Pond. And now I have the Wisteria table runner. So I'm excited to do this one. I made this one for my daughter who loves wisteria, and when I was doing Asian inspired florals, I thought you got to do wisteria. They're beautiful, and if you've ever seen the wisteria tunnels they have in Japan in the spring, very inspiring. So this design here this is one end of it. As you can see, it's a table runner where it's on both ends, and I've got one end done, and we are going to do the opposite end today so you can see how to do the applique portion. So when you get a laser kit, this is what you're going to receive. All these pieces on this side are just cut off the bolt, and they are what you need to assemble your background. These pieces here have not been pre-washed. You will notice that it says applique fabrics have been pre-washed. That means all of these pieces, which are the applique pieces, and they're already cut for you, they have all been pre-washed, but these ones have not. So when you open up my pattern, you will find, and here's my pattern, the first step in all of my patterns is to pre-wash all fabrics to block and remove excess dye. A lot of people will ignore that step, but I will tell you that when it comes to batiks, printed batiks don't bleed quite as much because of the process that they go through to remove the wax, but you will actually find little bits of wax sometimes on pieces. So running it through a wash cycle, or even just what I often will do is just rinse them with hot water in your sink, and as long as at the hot level you're not seeing dye come out, you're good. But if you rinse these if you rinse these solids, what they call the 1895 colors is the line, and I consider them solids. They're the hand-dyed batiks. These ones, they will often have a lot of excess dye in them, and sometimes, like this lighter one, you might think, oh, that's not a problem. It might bleed a lot of green. It might bleed a yellowy color. This darker green, especially darker colors, are always a little more worrisome. I always rinse them. Once you've rinsed them out and you see that the water is running clear, then throw them in your dryer with any other clothes, whatever, and iron them out. I always recommend that to people because all these ones I just put them through a wash cycle in my washer, and then I throw them in the dryer. Now the rinsing, dampening them, that gets rid of your dye. The drying, that's what blocks your color. So what is blocking? Blocking is when your grains of your fabric are like this. When they are on a bolt and they're getting going from Bali to California, getting wrapped on bolts, coming to Alaska or wherever you are, getting into a shop, opened up, cut, all that movement, all that handling can make that weave go from this to maybe this. And when you wash and dry something, the dry cycle, not only does it shrink all of your weave, so you get rid of excess shrinkage, it also straightens that block, or it straightens that weave out, and that's what the blocking is. So if you've ever had a shirt or something where, let me grab this, where if you've ever had a shirt or something and you get it out of the dryer and all of a sudden it's kind of doing this is because the weave was a little pulled, and when it went through the dry cycle, it straightened itself out. And that pull is always going to be there. So if you've ever made a quilt and you have like one block that all this light green kind of is pulling, that's because that one in particular needed to shrink and straighten up a lot. Certain fabrics, you will find when you get them out of the dryer that they don't have much loss on the side. Some of them, it'll be like there'll be like a huge switch where it goes like this and this on both ends. Those are ones that had a lot of stretching and they had a lot of blocking that needed to be done, and you don't want that to happen after the fact. So please pre-wash your fabrics to remove that excess dye and block and shrink out everything. It's an important step, and all you have to do, stick them in your sink, rinse them out, make sure there's no extra dye rinsing out of it, throw it in your dryer, iron them, and you're good to go. Okay, so what we're gonna do today though, is we're going to do the applique portion. So as you can see, this design, all the appliques actually fit straight on top of your background. So when you're doing this step, you want to have done all of the first few steps to get your background ready. Now I've already put the appliques on this side, but this side is ready to go. And so we're gonna skip all the steps here that tell you about putting everything together and jump down to step 9. Now, because you bought an applique kit, you don't actually have to trace applique pieces twice on the fusible side and do all that. However, I'm doing a test of my very first laser kit, and when I was cutting them, I always try my best to catch mistakes before I put them out there. Well, as I was cutting, I got all my applique pieces. So like, here's all the pieces for the wine color. Here's all the pieces for the what do I call this one? The purple blossoms. Here's the dark purple background. I've gone through and I've labeled. Now I've only labeled half of them, you might notice, but that's because I already have the other half done. And this extra half is going to go on another set because the one that I just did was actually my hand cut side, what I tested. So now the other side is going to get a laser cut. So when I was testing these, I found, and what I'll do is I'll cut them out and then I'll compare them to here. And the way that it should work is if I have, and let me give you a for instance here, when I have these wine pieces, so right here I have Wisteria A, Wisteria B, and you'll see that they correspond. Wisteria C is right down here. And they're in the same order and they're in the same shape. So I'm going to go through with my pencil and I'm going to write each one down. And when I cut them, I try to make sure that they look like they're the correct shape. Well, as I did my green, my leaves, I caught, thankfully, that the stems, or we'll turn it this way, all the stems were fine. All the leaves were the right shape. I had one of my number 1, 2 of my number 2s, 3 of my number 3s, and my 4s were backwards. So we're going to have a bonus lesson today, and that is how do you cut without a laser kit. But just so you know, if you bought a laser kit, I fixed this. This is the only one that is like this. And I just X those leaves out and I'm going to cut them myself. But when you buy a kit, your leaves will be facing the right way. But those are the kind of things I try to catch before I put them out there. So as I was just noting, I will label everything. So that's one of the things that you want to do. We'll do this little leaf lesson here in a second. But you want to go through and you want to take every applique and go ahead and label. So A to A, B to B, C to C, and you have 2 sets because you have one on each end, right? So do that with all your pieces, all your lavender blossoms, all your purple blossoms, all your yellow flower centers, your wine flowers, and your pink wisteria appliques. So I've already done that for the 1/2. Now let's do a quick little tutorial on if you wanted, and this is just a little bonus one because of my mistake. So I went ahead and I was like, oh shoot, I need 4 of these number 4s. And I thought, well, I'll just cut them and have them ready. And then I thought, well, why not show people how you do this? Should you want to make a second kit and you don't want to buy the applique, maybe you've decided you want to do different colors and you're going to get a pattern with your kit. So you can always make as many as you want from your pattern, cutting them out yourself. So today, what I've done is I've traced. So the first thing you're going to do is you can take your steam-a-seam. Now this is just a little chunk. And I've traced by putting this over leaf number 4. And turn my light on. And I've traced the leaf with my pencil. I have 1, 2, and I have 2 more on here. Now, at this point, one of the mistakes that I find people make all the time, I have paper on the back still, I have paper on the top. You trace on the side that has the grid on it. If you can see that, there's kind of a little yellow grid. So I've traced on my grid side, my pieces. Now, I am not going to go and cut on these lines right now. I see people do that in class almost every time somebody goes and it's like, we're going to cut them out and stick it to the fabric. do not cut on those lines right now. Two reasons. One, you're making so much extra work for yourself. And two, when you go to cut these out of the fabric, not having that paper on either side of your line makes it so much more difficult to cut your shapes out. So all I've done, and like you see here, I just roughly cut around the outside. Now, obviously this was already roughly cut, but I'm just showing you, like I would just roughly cut around the outside. Then I'm going to peel that paper off the back, keeping the glue. The glue should stick to your grid side. So I'm peeling this paper off the back, and now what I have is I have this sticky glue and my trace lines. I'm going to put it onto the fabric, just wherever. Move this out of the way for the moment. And now what you're going to do is you're going to apply some heat to it, but you're not fusing right now. You're just applying enough heat to get the applique to stick to the fabric well enough to hold, and that way it's not peeling off with the paper. So I have my iron, I have it on like a medium heat, and then I'm just going to press down and about one, two, and that's enough. Do not fuse at this point. That's another mistake I find people make. They think that right now they're supposed to put like seconds and seconds of heat on here. You just need enough heat to get it to stick. And that little, literally 1, 2 over, that's it. That's usually plenty. You'll notice when you do this that the paper is very stuck to the fabric now, but two, it goes a little translucent once you've put that heat on there. So now that I've got my traced shapes onto my fabric, I'm going to cut them out. So what I like is to use bigger scissors. Now you can use smaller, they have applique scissors. These ones are a 7-inch scissor. I actually also really like this 5-inch. They're both by Ginger, and these are probably my preferred ones these days, just because as I've gotten older, my thumbs get more sore, and I like the smaller scissors, not as heavy. But I for years and years have used this 7-inch Gingers. These are one of the fancy ones. I have some that are just kind of silver too, but either one will work. The reason I like these are dressmaker shears, and the reason you want dressmaker shears is because they cut all the way to the point, and they have this nice long blade, which I love because when I go to cut this nice long curve, I can start way at the back of my blade. Now I get to the tip here, way at the back, and I cut, and I do one long cut, right? All the way there. Back to the tip, cut, and make this nice long cut. And there's my shape. Excuse me. So let's do another one. Again, I kind of get to that point, get way back at the back of the scissor, and cut this nice long shape. And for me, I would rather, now the lines, I do try to stay on the lines, but for me, I would prefer a nice smooth edge to being perfectly on my line also. So like for instance, if I was doing this one and I kind of went off the line a bit, which I did, and I went maybe in the line a little too much, I don't really care that I'm past my line here. What I want is to look at this side, right? This side has this nice curve. It doesn't have all this jaggediness. And now let's do with the 5-inch ones. Again, what's nice about these longer ones, now this one isn't quite long enough to go the whole way, right? So I go part of the way, back to way at the back, get right to the point where I stopped and start again. Curve to the point, way back to the back, and I start again and I finish it off. And that gives me that beautiful curve. Okay, so now I got my 4 leaves that were messed up. I got my corrected ones there for me. Just to show you too, like for instance, what I'm saying about having like smaller scissors. If you're cutting a shape out, just looking, okay. If you're cutting a shape out, and let's do a little circle here. If I'm cutting this out and I'm going snip, 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 snip. It's hard for me to do it because I never cut like this. But if you're doing all these tiny cuts, it's harder to see here, but you're going to get little fraying. You're going to get little points. It's not going to look as nice. And so that's why, again, I like that long blade, and I like to do those really long controlled cuts. And the other thing And now I stopped doing it so you won't be able to see me. But the other thing that you'll notice is that when I cut, and maybe you notice as I did it, I will cut where my right hand kind of stays in position and my left does most of the movement. So that's another thing. When I'm cutting, my left hand is moving. My right hand is just kind of up and slowly cutting and opening and slowly cutting. It might move a little bit, but for the most part, I do most of my movements with my left. So those are just some tips if you're cutting anything yourself. If you decide you want to make a kit and you're like, well, I love wisteria, but I want mine to be all pink. I love pink wisteria. Or you like white wisteria, you want to make your own kit. Sure, go for it. And you can cut your own. And now you know how. Okay, so now let's get started on the assembly. So if you look here, once you've traced everything, the next step we're going to do is lay an applique pressing sheet on the layout guide. This is the layout guide here. And we're going to arrange wisteria flowers A, B, and C. We're doing 2 of each. So for today in the video, we're just gonna do 1 of each because I've already done the one side. And for each flower, we're gonna place the dark purple. So this one, I have this note here because you don't see really the dark purple very much. It's kind of in the background and it's sort of what holds, and you can, when you get into this, you'll be able to see it peeking out here and there, but it's behind these big clusters and it's what kind of holds all those together. Okay, so we're putting the dark purple background and the stem first, then arranging the flowers in numerical order. So for example, we're gonna go dark purple background, stem A1, or stem, and then A1A, A1B, A1 blah, blah, blah. So one of these backgrounds and one of our stems is the first thing we're gonna do on all of them, and then we start with all the flowers. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this sideways just so that you can see in the video better of what I'm doing. And I'm gonna get my applique pressing sheet. Now, if you don't have an applique pressing sheet, I highly recommend getting one. They're under $20. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them in most craft stores. If you look up the applique pressing sheet, that is the one that I started with. This is the color of it. It's a lighter kind of tan color. And there are others. There's a darker one that is similar in texture to this one. I don't like the darker one because it's harder to see through. And I see you can see that you can actually see through this light one. The darker versions are harder to see through. They do work. They work fine. It's just for me, I like the lighter version. The original size that I started with was a 13 by 17. Again, it's around 20 or just under $20. And then they have an 18 by 20, which if you get into doing a lot of my designs, some of my like larger animals and stuff, the 18 by 20 is a great size. So highly recommend. There's another version out there that is a thicker one. It has sort of this grid texture and it's sort of sticky. I thought I might like the stickiness because it won't wiggle. But I found that it's the little grid wiggly things that are inside, like some sort of little wires that are in it, make it really hard to see again. So overall, of all the ones I've used, I prefer this original one. It's, like I said, called the applique pressing sheet. You can find them in most craft stores and online. Okay, so flower A, flower B, flower C. Now you might notice flower A and B, they're very similar. That's because they're the same flower in reverse. So why did I do that? Oh, because it's a lot faster to design and flip it. And it's a lot faster and it's a cheater way for me to be able to digitize less because I hate digitizing. And when I did this flower, I thought, oh my gosh, this is gonna be a nightmare to digitize all these little pieces. And I thought, you know what? I could digitize this one, I could reverse it, and it could be this same one over here because they were gonna be similar in size anyhow. So I cheated, but you know, sometimes you have, you know, good reason. And I hate digitizing, so that was my good reason. Okay, so again, we're gonna start with A. And you'll notice these little dash lines here, and I have a note here about dash lines in each wisteria show positioning of dark purple background appliques for each flower. So I'm gonna pop a little A out. You just give them a little tug. If you have any threads that stick, keep your little thread scissors nearby. If you have any threads that stick out that bother you, you can trim them with those thread scissors as well. Okay, so I'm going to place that where those little dash lines are. And then remember, we're also going to put our stem for A down. Now, the stem is a little more delicate. And when I'm doing these ones that have tiny little pieces, I will kind of just work my way around them to pull because I don't want to tear it. Now, if you do tear it, I will tell you that you can kind of, once you peel the paper off the back, you can kind of just butt them up to each other and the tear will sort of heal itself when you go to fuse it. But being a little gentle with these thinner pieces, hopefully you won't tear them in the first place, but a tear isn't the end of the world. And then when I go to lay these ones down, I kind of hold them and I kind of try to center them and start kind of in the middle. Because sometimes also with these skinny little pieces like this, when you peel that paper off, sometimes the weave, because it is just being held together by glue, sometimes it will stretch a little bit, and you might notice that mine is a little stretched as you get up here to the top. One of the reasons I'll start in the center is because that stretch will show a lot less if I distribute it over the entire seam versus starting at the bottom and letting it go, and it might be 1/8 of an inch off by the time you get to the top. But if you start in the middle, that 1/8 inch of stretch kind of distributes over everything and it doesn't show really. Okay, now we're doing Wisteria A. And of course, when I did all my little notes or all my little labels here, I didn't write A, B, and C next to everything. I know what C is. C's the big one. But let me just make a little note here. These are B, these are A. So these are A, B, and this is C. Now, if you want to at this point, and I think I'm going to actually cut these out so that I'm only dealing with A. This is B. I'll stick it over there. This is C. Stick that there. And my extra I'll put over here. Now this one too, I'm just gonna cut. I'm doing this, you don't have to do this. I'm just thinking like because there's so many little pieces and I don't want anything to fall out, that I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of cut them out and get them to where I don't have to worry about it so much. A, B, and C. Okay, so let's see. What's my next one? My yellow. I just want to make sure I'm doing them right. A, B, C. I tell my family, I'm going to do a video tutorial. Please don't interrupt me. Please don't come into my studio. Please don't talk. You distract me. So far, my daughter has come in twice. My husband has come in once. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Okay, so let's see. This is the last one. And we have, oops, I just lost. So this one here just fell out. It doesn't really matter that it fell out. I'm going to pull it out in a minute anyhow, but I just don't want to lose it. So I'm going to take a little piece of Scotch tape. And you will find that occasionally when you get one of my kits, you might find a little piece of Scotch tape on something. And that is because, I'm sure this is A, B, C. Let me double check myself. Yes. That is because when I'm doing my laser cuts on my machine, certain shapes cut out easier than others. So shapes that are like round like this, they kind of want a little bit of a more delicate setting than a shape that's maybe more jaggedy or something like these ones. The problem is a lot of the times there will be shapes that are both rounded and jaggedy within one color. And so I have to try to find like that balance in the middle between the two. And the problem that you have is that there isn't one that makes both happy. So I'm gonna take all my piece C, this will put it off to the side, B off to the side. And so now we're just gonna work with A. That makes it a little easier. Okay, so now with A, we're gonna start with, now we've done the background and the stem. So we're gonna start with A1, right? Now, 1 starts here and we're moving our way down to the bottom of it. If you see an A, like 1A, that means there is a 1B. I don't think there's any C's in this one. I think there's only A's and B's. I think so. We'll see. We might. If it just says 29, that means there's just 29. There's no A, there's no B. But if there's an A, that means there's a B. I don't believe, like I said, I don't think there's any C's. Nope. Okay, so we're going to pop out 1A. If you have any little threads that stick out and they bother you, just snip them. And when I go to peel the paper off, I'll do a little fold towards the paper, and it kind of helps get the fabric to release. Just a little tip. I never actually knew that I did that until a lady pointed it out and was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." She was like, "You're doing like a little fold thing." And I was like, "I am?" And it turned out, well, heck yes, I am. And it's just something that I just started doing. I've done this for over 20 years, and actually almost 30 years since I first started using Steam-A-Seam. So I have some little tips, and I don't always even notice that I do them. Okay, so next is going to be 2, and 2 is just a 2. So no A, no B, just 2. Now 3A. And this one I pulled a thread and it pulled out through it, and I can see it. I don't know if you can see it in there. I can see the light coming through it, but I'll tell you that once you put it on the fabric, you won't notice that. So if you ever pull anything and like the thread kind of pulls out from the applique, you're really going to notice it when the light is behind it, but you're not going to notice it once the light isn't behind it and it's on the fabric. So don't stress over that. Sometimes that happens. Instead of a thread sticking out, it like pulls out. Oh, and that's another tip I do. If you can't see where to put something, put your hand on it, put your hand on the pressing sheet, lift it up and take a peek and go, oh, there's where B goes. Flip it back down, and that way everything stays steady. Occasionally too, you might just check that you haven't wiggled something. The other thing that I'll do is I've used these little clips and like clipped the edge and the layout guide and the pressing sheet together like that. And that way it just sort of stays and I don't have to worry about things bumping or moving. I've assembled things where I didn't realize that I bumped it and I put like a whole bunch of stuff together, and then it was kind of off a lot in some places. And I was like, I am not going to go through and redo that. It's staying where it is. And once you remove the layout guide from behind it and just put it on the background, you didn't even notice, you know. I always try to remind people that all of my designs are based on nature, and nature isn't perfect, and you don't need to try to worry about being perfect with everything that you do. So I'm just checking here because I'm trying to see, here's where B is. I just want to make sure that I put it in the right place. Okay, so that was 4B. So we're on 5A. So I always tell people, and if you've watched one of my videos, you'll have heard me say it many times. I'm not encouraging you to be sloppy. I'm just letting you know that the designs are very, because they're nature, they are very forgiving. And if it isn't absolutely perfect, then that is really okay, and not to stress over everything. They're meant, you know, it's meant to be fun. And a lot of the stress is already gone when you buy a laser kit because you don't have to do any of the cutting. So, you know, don't stress yourself out when you don't have to. This part of it is just sort of like putting a puzzle together where you know where all the pieces go. Okay, so we're on 7, and because it is all this group here, it's kind of hard to see what goes where. So I'm just flipping up and down and kind of getting an idea of where they are. And if my piece isn't exactly where it's supposed to be, I don't really care. And you'll notice that dark purple, like it's peeking through here, right? It's going to probably peek through in a few little spots. That's why it's there. It's in the background to provide some depth and some coverage behind this big clump of what would be a huge clump of wisteria. You know, growing not around just what you see from the front, but also all through the back, because how they bloom like that. Big like bouquet of wisteria. So I'm looking for 8. 8 must be, oh, it's right here. 8, and that wasn't quite right. There we go. 8, 9. So I try to put them together, you know, like the pattern shows in my tutorial, or in my pattern, because, you know, that's the way it's supposed to be. But I have told people, I've done a few of my floral designs where I have like these little, like if you watch the cherry blossom one, there's some, figure out where the hell this one goes. There are these little centers that are like little spikies that go in the middle of the cherry blossom. And I'm just like, listen, I'm not going to sit there and worry about if the spikies are perfectly lined up. I just stuck them in the middle. I didn't even care. I didn't even look to see if they were in any way going in the right direction. And I will tell you that if you look at it, you are not going to know. And I've told this story on another one of my videos before, but I did a presentation for a quilt group. I think it's been like 2 years now, but I was doing a little demo of one of my designs, and there was, it was all this ocean stuff, and there were these mussels in there. And I said to the ladies, I was telling them like not to stress over things being perfect. And I said, I lost one of the pieces that goes on the mussels. So the mussels, they have a black background, and then they have these light blue pieces that go over the top. And I told them, I said, I will guess that you can't tell which one is missing a piece. And once I told them, some of the ladies were like looking for it. You know, they wanted to find the missing piece. None of them found it. I knew exactly which one it was. They were looking, some of them even came up afterwards and they were looking at it up close, and they were like, is it this one? And I said, nope. And it was funny because I was like, see, you don't need to stress, because seriously, you're not going to notice which one it is. You know, nobody's going to notice. And I also tell people when they're arranging things onto the background, if they feel like they're not putting them perfectly in place, I say, take the background out from underneath it for a second and just look at it, and you will not even notice that something is wrong, you know, or in the wrong place. It's like, it's not wrong. Don't stress. So many things in the world to stress us out. Don't let this stress you out. Let this be something that can be enjoyable and relaxing. I have a C. I have a C. There is a C. Oh shoot, there's a 5C too. I didn't even notice. Okay, so here's my 14C. This little tiny little Marsala color. How funny, I didn't even notice it. Okay, so I did notice that because I saw there's like a little thing here. What am I missing? So there was also a 5C. Let me find it. 5C goes up here. So here's the 5C. I missed it. So it should have been layered under 6. But you know what? I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to stick it on here. Boop. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay. See again. See. Don't stress. Please don't stress. Okay, so that's all for that color. I've also used all the yellow. So now we're just getting into kind of these ones that are not opened yet, right? So that's 16A, 16B. I think, oh yeah, we do still have some A's and B's as you go down. There are a few that, this one got a lot of threads. And it's funny how some, I don't know, sometimes it's a certain part of a fabric or a certain fabric that likes to just give you threads everywhere, and other fabrics that don't do it at all. I don't know how or why or what the deal is. This one, and it wasn't doing it up there, but it's doing it right down here. It's just wanting, it's funny because I'll notice that it's certain colors sometimes that want to like have lots of threads. So I don't know if like the weave is a little thicker to where maybe, you know, my laser, the way that it cuts everything is through like tiny little burn holes, and so it's like basically they're perforated, and so I don't know if sometimes there's like a weave that's maybe a little thicker to where the burn doesn't quite get through it as well. I don't know. Okay, so now I have a 20A and a B. So A is this lighter purple, and then B is going to be the wine color. So it's sticking out. B overlaps. And then the other thing too to note on almost all my designs, when you're putting things down in these, you know, multi-piece things, you're going to have overlap places. And so one of the other things that I noticed that people sometimes did was they would try to, instead of overlapping something, they try to like butt them up to each other. Like as a, for instance, whoop, if you have a stem here, you're not wanting to put this little piece past the stem where it's just butting up to the stem. No, you want to overlap the tip of the stem. It's meant to overlap, and that way they, when you go to fuse it and you peel it up, everything peels up as one big piece. If you just butt it up to it, then these little purple flower buds, they're going to stay on the applique and the stem is going to peel off. But if you overlap it, they stick together where that stem is, and then it'll peel off as one big applique. And you'll see what I'm talking about when we finish these and we go to put them on the background. 24A. Whoop. And if you're having trouble with little pieces too, I will also note that I don't ever use, oh my gosh, I'm losing my train of thought as I'm doing this. I don't use them myself, but find them. Tweezers. I don't even know if I have a pair here that I could use. I think I stuck some in the back. Oh, here's a pair. Some people also like to use tweezers, and on these little bitty, these aren't really itty bitty, but sometimes there are itty bitty ones. Ladies will sometimes like to use these. I always just use my fingers, but there are sometimes little tiny pieces that, like, if you're having trouble, just take the tweezers, lay it in place, finger on it, and press down and hold so it sticks to that pressing sheet. I'm not really a big fan of tweezers, but I know some ladies, and like these smaller pieces, I definitely can see how that could be helpful, you know. So did I put that overlapping that stem? Yes, I did. Okay, I just want to make sure. We're almost done with this one, and then we're going to repeat basically the same one in reverse over here next, but I am going to move it a little bit. So why am I going to move it? Because this one and C overlap slightly, and so I want to make sure that they aren't overlapping when I go to fuse it, because I put them down separately. And the reason I put them down separately is because you put your leaves down first, and I mean, I guess you could put all the leaves down and then put them down, but I just like to put the leaves. The instructions are like, put the leaves down, put the flower down, put the leaves down, put the flower down. And so if you wanted to go ahead and fuse them together, you can. It's just, I also kind of find that when you have all these little pieces that are dangling, it's sometimes easier to do them one at a time than trying to manage this one where they're only stuck together by a little tiny area. So, okay, so this is the last piece on this one, on flower A. So now we're going to work on flower B, which is over here, but I'm going to move it over just slightly so that I know I can get flower C by itself, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to clip it up here again, just so we don't have things moving around. And then let's work on this one. So I have all my B pieces again that I cut out, and we're going to start again with B1, 1A. Oh, no, wait, no, we're not. We're going to start with our background. Hello. And then we're going to start with our stem. Pop my stem out. Oh, and I tore a piece. Oh, good. I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad that I did that because I want to show you what to do if you tear something. So I tore this little bit of stem B right there. I'm just going to stick it right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is it's right here. Now it's a little jaggedy, it's a little ragged. I'm not going to worry about it for the moment because I think it's going to get hidden, but I'm going to go ahead and peel the paper off the back. I'm going to lay her down. Again, kind of finding the center. Lay it down. Okay, so here's B. Now I tore it. Here's the recipe. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to use those tweezers. I lied. I'm gonna need the tweezers. Okay, here's the recipe. So I'm just gonna peel this rest of this little piece off. I'm gonna pinch it. Here, we'll do it with tweezers. Pinch this little piece. It's all jaggedy on this edge. Now, if I wanted, I could just cut that and straighten it, but I'm not worried about it. I'm gonna overlap that jaggedy edge. Do I have it upside down? Oops, here we go. And I'm just gonna lay it down where it overlaps. Now, you are not gonna notice that because there is glue behind the whole thing, and the glue is gonna fuse it right back together. So you will not even notice that. So if that happens to you, just stick them right back to each other. If it tears really bad, where it like really pulled the threads, take your little thread scissors, trim them up, butt it up to each other, the edges, and again, when the glue goes to fuse it, you're not even going to notice it, or slightly overlap it like we just did. Okay, so now we're going to start 1A. Does it go like this? No, it goes like this. And I wrote D down sometimes instead of a B. Like, I don't think I'm dyslexic. I think what happened was I was in a rush because I also have like things, I'm cutting things today, trying to get kits done. Oh, see now this, it's supposed to actually look like this. I was gonna fix it. It's supposed to be like this. I'm gonna leave it like this. You know why? Because I want to show you that you're not going to notice that that is in the wrong position. You don't even notice it right now because you can't even see behind there. 2, 3, A. 3B. 3C, no 3C, 4A, there is a 5C though. I know that now. 4B. So my daughter, like I said, loves Wisteria. It's one of the reasons why I was like, I'm going to do Wisteria. I did a Asian themed batik collection with Hoffman Fabrics, and that's actually the batiks that are in this, that are the Wisteria prints. Those are my designs. So in case you didn't know that, the cherry blossoms, these Wisteria ones here, those are all my fabric designs that I did with Hoffman. And I did those after I had been to Japan. I've been there twice. And the second time, my daughter, my family all went, and we were there during cherry blossom season, which was amazing. And so I did a cherry blossom design. I have a tutorial up on that one as well. And we weren't there when the Wisteria were going, but I just love Wisteria, and I've seen pictures, and I thought, oh my gosh, they bloom. Like, we were there end of March, very beginning of April, and I thought if I ever go back in the spring, I want to go in May because that's when the Wisteria bloom. And I thought, I've seen these images of these Wisteria tunnels that are just the trees that just go right over, they just curve right over, and you can walk under them, and they're so beautiful, and they have all these different colors, just really gorgeous. And my daughter really likes Wisteria, so I thought if we ever go back, I'd like to go in the spring and maybe be able to see the Wisteria tunnels. Because I had been, the first time I went was in the fall, and I was there during the when all the maple leaves change, and that was gorgeous, and I just loved it. And so I did a couple designs in 2021 that included cherry blossoms and the momiji, which is the maple leaves, and they went with a different collection that I had done with Hoffman, and they really liked the Japanese inspired designs I did. I did a koi. And so down the road, they were like, would you want to do more Japanese, more Asian inspired ones? So that's how this collection came about. Was I was like, sure, it's a little different than what I normally do. I generally do mostly Alaska themed work, and that is mostly just because I live in Alaska and I have a lot of inspiration for nature around me, and I don't aspire to be like a huge like designer that's in every store everywhere. I like kind of keeping it small. I like to be in my studio by myself. I don't want to manage, you know, a team, putting kits together day in and day out. I already put kits together day in and day out, and that's why my sweet little daughter is in the other room right now, in my laser room, managing my machine while I do this. But yeah, anyhow, so I mostly do Alaskan themed work, and doing the Japanese stuff was really fun to do something different. And I really do like that. I will say, if you are looking at any of these kits and watching any of these videos, it is right now spring or almost spring, getting to be spring. It's end of March of, or middle to end of March of 2026 right now. My other designs that I have used my fabrics with, that are my Alaska theme stuff, I'm usually able to get reprints done because the stores up here will pool together and get a lot of my batiks reprinted every year. So I've been able to keep a lot of my designs going for many years because the other stores and I all kind of pitch in and we get things reprinted. So a lot of my Alaska themed work is available, you know, year after year after year for many years. These designs, because they're not Alaska themed, are more limited in how long they'll be available. So if there's something you really like, and it is one of these, you know, the cherry blossoms, the koi, this wisteria, even my sandhill cranes, which I'm sure at some point I'll have to redo in a new color scheme if I want to keep it going. Don't hesitate to get your kit soon, because these are going to be ones that I did buy a good quantity of the fabrics, but you know, only have so much space, so I can't buy too much. But I did get a good amount to be able to produce kits. I figured it might go a few years, maybe. Sort of just depends on the demand. I never know what to expect. But these are ones that, you know, they have a shelf life basically. Like when I run out of fabrics, then they're done. You know, I won't have them anymore. The patterns will be available, but the laser kits will not be available. So if you like this one, don't wait too long to get your kit, because it might be that it's no longer available. Okay, so we're on 17. And if you are interested in buying this kit or any of my other kits, they are, if you go onto my website, which is wildfiredesignsalaska.com, there is a link. I have a new shopping site, a new shop. It's actually, you can also go directly to my shop, but there are links all over my website to it. My website will give you information on all my designs, locations of people that carry my designs. I also, you know, link each one that I've done a video tutorial. I link it to YouTube. Of course, you can see them all on YouTube just by going to my channel, but that's all on there too. So my website has become more of an informational site and gallery. And then this last January, just this past January, a few months ago, I had to redo my online store because the company that I was using previously just suddenly like went out of business last May. And so for months, most of last year, I didn't have an online store. It was a super pain in the butt, but I got it sorted out in January. But I have decided it is now its own website. So if you go to www.shopwildfireak.com, that is my online store where all of my currently available kits and patterns are on there. If there's something that you have seen before and you're not seeing it listed, you're welcome to email me, reach out to me about it. Sometimes if I don't have a kit available at the moment, like especially in the summertime, I get really swamped with the orders from my wholesale orders through the quilt shops up here, and sometimes I might have something not on the store, but it is still available. It's just that I may not have any cut and ready to go. And I like to try to get orders out no later than 2 weeks. Most of the time I like to try to get them out within the week that the order is placed. But if I don't have something, and if it's in the summer when I am just swamped and overwhelmed with orders from stores, it is sometimes where I will just kind of pull something off, or I won't restock it for the moment and it won't be on the shopping store. But it doesn't mean that it's necessarily completely gone. Could be, but not necessarily. So if there's ever anything that you are like, oh geez, I'm looking for a certain kit that she's had a long time and I think it's still available, and you're not seeing it there, you're always welcome to email me and I can give you a timeline of when it, you know, might be back up. Or if it's like, oh, I actually just finished those and I hadn't updated my inventory, I can do that update so you can order something. But sometimes there are certain things that when I get really low on things too, or if I'm like, if I know that it's something I might not be able to keep up on for the summer months, I will just, I've just gotten to where I'll just get rid of it on the store, because I don't want someone getting disappointed that they order it and I can't get it to them for like a month, you know. That one, the little paper came off first. Okay, so we finished B. So now we're gonna work on C, and that's the last one. I got all my C pieces here. So we're gonna do the same thing, right? I'm not gonna remember this time. We're gonna put our C background down. Now this is a big background. It's the biggest one. So line it up with those dash marks, get my stem. Being gentle, I don't want to rip any more little pieces if I can help it. So remember, these are, you know, it is like little perforations. So sometimes a little thread might catch or something. And so don't like yank on them really hard. You kind of give them a little tug, but you don't want to yank on them. If it's not coming and there's a thread stuck in there, that's why you want to take your scissors, snip it. If there's, find kind of my center, go down this way, go up this way. Okay. You don't want to tug too hard because you don't want to tear them if you know, if you can help it, you don't want to tear them. This color just wants to have little threads. I don't know what its deal is. Okay. Starting with 1A, 1B. I have to remind myself to stick my hands kind of out a little bit more so you guys can see what I'm doing, because I tend to do it over here and I'm noticing I look up and it's like, oh, my hands aren't in there. 2A. 2B. Now this one has some C's in it, so I'm just going to pay attention. I know there's a 5C again, a little sneaky 5C. 3A. 3B. Some little, so when these lighter colors like this yellow, when they have the little threads out, they tend to show up pretty well on a darker background. And this is kind of medium background. You might not see it too much, but I just like to snip them off because I don't want to see them if they're like super obvious. But okay, 4A is over here. 4B, where is 4B? Over here. My puppies are locked up with my daughter in the laser room right now. I don't know if you just heard my one bigger Australian Shepherd making some noise, but they usually are out here with me, but they get overexcited if someone comes in the driveway. And they got to be in my video when I did my quilting demo, but then at the end they decided to get really rowdy and they don't listen very well, especially when someone comes to the door. So they're like in the laser room with my daughter. They're in jail right now so that they don't make a bunch of noise. they're helping her with the machine. Okay, so 5 has a C, right? Just like the other one. I don't know which way that's supposed to go. I'm just gonna plop it right like that. I think, let's see. Well, it's fine. Okay, 6A. 6B. So I'm also working on some new designs for 2026, hoping to have out by early summer. Got to do all the pattern work, which is, there's a lot of work that goes into these. That's why, you know, sometimes people be like, oh, you should do this or that or whatever. And I always kind of am like, I have to, I have to like kind of be inspired by something to do it for one. So it's kind of like, you know, it's got to fit my theme, fit my what's on my mind or whatever. But I always kind of let people know that like making a new design is not like a simple, quick thing. I come up with the idea, work on the initial drawings, try to, you know, test it, doing it with fabric and stuff. And then I tend to like tweak things a lot and get it to where I like the initial part, and then that's sort of like a mess of all these sketches and fix this and cross this out and change this and whatever. Then I have to redraw it so that it's the way that I finished it. Then I need to go through and make all the like pieces, you know, because like this is fine, but then you got to do all this, and then you got to test that this and this, when you go to layer them, go together correctly. So then there's testing you got to do. And then once the testing's done, then I send them up to this place up in Anchorage that scans them for me, and then I get them on the computer, and then I go through and I put all the labels in and everything. And then I get one done where I then test the whole pattern to try to catch mistakes. I still have mistakes, as you all know. There are mistakes, and I try my best to catch them, but they slip past. And so then once I get that done, and it's like, okay, the pattern is kind of done. And I mean, the pattern is a job too. It's getting a finished one done, going through and doing the, hang on, I gotta look for 11B. Getting it finished, which if y'all are quilters out there, you're gonna know the struggle of finishing things, right? So I have to get myself to finish my stuff. And you know, that is all the way to like getting the binding on and it's done. Quilt it, bind it, all that stuff. Then I got to photograph it. I got to make the cover. I got to figure out how much fabric you need for everything, and get all that written down and figured out. Then I work on digitizing it to be able to do a laser kit. So the laser kit process is a lot of work too. I mean, there's a lot that goes into doing all this, getting all these made. And then I usually, because I've already tested the pattern a few times, I'm usually like, okay, I'm good to go. And I'll put out the laser kits. Well, this year I tested, this is what I'm doing right now. And this is why you have like, I have this one where those were backwards. I always try to catch those things. And then this year, because I'm trying to do more video tutorials, I thought, you know, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually test my laser kits as well, because I want to catch mistakes. I hate mistakes. I mean, they're going to happen. They do happen. I hate it though. And a lot of people, most people I would say, are pretty understanding of a mistake. There are a good group of people who are not understanding of mistakes, and those are the ones you hear from a lot, you know. So I really love to try to catch the mistakes so that I don't have to go, I'm really sorry, you know. Of course I'm sorry, but it's like, let me try to, you know, what can I do to make it better? And some people are just, you know, very very hard to deal with. And so the fewer mistakes, the fewer that I have to worry about getting, you know, scolded in the future by someone too. But anyhow, so this year I was like, I'm gonna just go ahead and because I want to try to do more video tutorials, um, to show people that these sort of things look really hard, but they're really not that hard. I mean, this one has a lot of little pieces, and I totally get that, you know, little pieces. It's a lot of work. And I'm fast, and we've been going for like an hour almost. Yep, just shy of an hour now. And so it's like, yeah, I get it. It's a lot of work. I have to remember where I'm at, 15. But they're definitely, they're definitely something you can do. It's pop here, peel, and stick it in place. You know where to put it. I believe me, anybody can do these designs. And you don't have to tell people that they were laser cut either. I always tell people, like, you can go ahead and finish one and show it to folks and then be like, yeah, I did that. And boy, it took so much time and all those little pieces and whatever. They don't have to know that you didn't cut them yourself. I'm not going to tell. But anyhow, basically my point is that the process of putting a new pattern together, gosh, I wish it was easier than it is. And I'm kind of a old school person where I do everything kind of basically by hand, and I don't use computers a lot to cheat on stuff. I hand draw all of these. I do go into my computer and try to clean it up a little bit, and I do put all the numbering in by the computer. But for the most part, I do everything that I do for the most part on these is just hand. All these are hand drawn. I just use Sharpie markers. I do it all in pencil first, and then I go through and hand draw everything. And that's also why sometimes 12A might not be perfectly like 12A on here. I try very hard to draw my lines on my lines and trace these exactly as I've drawn them out. But, it's not a computer. I'm not a computer, so I'm gonna have things that sometimes are maybe a little bit not perfect, but they're as close as I can get you. So for those of you who don't know, I do hand draw everything. I don't use a computer for designing at all. I'm sure it would be easier. It would involve me having to learn how to do that, and I don't really like learning new things. It sounds terrible, right? That's not true, actually. I do like learning new things. I just don't really have a lot of time to learn new things. And I know sometimes it's like, oh, but you should learn because it'll save you time. And it's like, yeah, but find me the time in the meanwhile where I can find the time to learn the thing to save me time, because I don't have a lot of extra time. Maybe my kids are getting all grown up. Maybe when they are grown up more. They're still in high school, but they almost finished with their sophomore year. I can't believe that they're that old in the first place, but I know that they will. I hope my daughter doesn't leave the nest too soon. I don't want her to. I'm hoping she'll just live across the street, because I've got some land for her, and I'm like, yes, just stay there. I'll give you the land. Just don't leave me. Please. And I really hope that she's 15, so she's not super excited about like working with me, but I'm really hoping that as she gets a little older, she will want to work more with Mom, and then I'll have her with me a lot more. Okay, so let me see. What am I on? I'm just sitting here doing stuff and I'm not paying attention. Okay, 24A. We're getting really close. We're almost finished. Actually, we're getting so close. I'm gonna wake up my iron, because my iron goes to sleep, and it annoys me so much because it's called a reliable iron. That's actually literally the name for it. It shuts off if you don't use it after 8 minutes. Like, whose iron shuts off if you don't use it for 8 minutes, right? Like, am I crazy? Uh-oh. I have a 25A right here. I have a 20. Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry. I didn't know which number I was on. I was on 24, so that's right. 25A. Yeah. And it is also not reliable because it spit iron water, all, not the iron as in it is an iron, as in the metal iron, all over one of my designs one time. So it's not allowed to do steam because of it, because it's not trustworthy. And I'm gonna wake it up. Yeah, I gotta wake it up. Have to shake it a little bit so it knows, like, hey, heat back up please, because we're getting to that point. But yeah, so it is not allowed to steam anything. I have to use my spray bottle. Oh shoot, where is my spray bottle? Well, I have one in the other room. I thought I had all my stuff all ready to go, but I left my spray bottle. So yeah, so instead of using a steam iron for when I go to do my steaming, I am going to do it using a spray bottle and the iron, and I'll show you how to do that. We always go through the whole fusing process, but I do that because my iron is a liar and it is not reliable, even though it literally says so on the side. And it also is kind of a cool iron. So what I mean by that is that, like, when you go to fuse things, and we'll talk about this a little bit, you don't want your iron too hot. If you have an iron, especially if you know your iron, you know, as you get to use an iron, you're gonna know whether it's like a hot iron or if it's kind of a cool iron. This one that I have, it never, if I put it on like a medium to low speed, it's almost like it's not hardly on. And so when I go to do fusing, I usually actually have it turned up to almost the top speed or very close to it. And the reason for that is just because it doesn't get that hot. I had another iron before that I always had to keep on a medium to low speed, or heat, sorry, not speed, because it would get really hot even at a lower setting. So when you go to fuse things, one of the things that you want is you don't want your iron too hot, because what it will do is it will, I call it frying the glue. It basically overheats your glue and then it won't fuse correctly. So having a medium heat is what you're going to want. So if you're getting ready to do the next step here, the fusing, you're going to want to have your iron on, have it warm, but not too hot, kind of a medium heat. You'll know if it's too hot with the fusible because you'll notice on lighter colors that you'll see these little, as you look at the fusible, it's kind of like tiny little dots of glue, and you'll sort of see those little dots showing up, especially on lighter colored fabrics. If you're seeing those little dots showing up, that is an indication that your iron is too hot. Turn it down, let it cool off for a few minutes before proceeding and going any further with your fusing, because you don't want to do that. If that happens, your glue is getting overheated, and then it doesn't stay, or it doesn't really, it's like when you heat it, it's almost like the glue kind of spreads out and fills in the space between the dots and fuses everything really well. And if it's too hot, it doesn't do that, like spreading out and getting in all the little spots. It kind of stays these little tiny dots, and you don't want that because that is not giving you a good fuse. Okay, we're almost done. 35, 36, 37, and last but not least, 38 on flower C. Okay, so now that I've got this done, I'm gonna turn my light off. I'm not going to need that for a minute. And I'm going to put my little clippies back on, my little clippy thingy. So now what I'm going to do is we're just going, now I've put everything onto this. Now I'm seeing a few little threads that I don't like. Those threads, they get on a dark fabric, you can really see them, and I don't like those. So if you notice any little threads, this yellow one, as I mentioned before, sometimes harder to see when the light is up, but I don't like those little threads. I'm just going to trim them. Okay. So I'm going to pull this out from underneath. We don't need this for a moment. I'm going to grab my little dirty, ugly quilters cut and press. put it on here. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to, basically what we're going to do now is we're warming up the glue to where everything kind of fuses together as one big applique. We're not trying to fuse it, as in like fusing it to the background. We're just getting everything to stick and become one, right? So we're not going to apply a lot of heat. And I've got my unreliable iron here. I have it on kind of a medium setting, but I normally would actually have it up here. But I'm just, for argument's sake, we're going to put it on medium because that's where you should have yours. And then we're just going to, I'm just going to set this down on here for about maybe 1, 2, 3. It's not very hot because my iron is not a very hot iron. Lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. Okay, that should be enough. Now I've turned my iron down, and as I mentioned, my iron is kind of sucky and it doesn't heat up very well, but it feels like it's pretty good. Now it's hot. So I'm going to give this, I'm going to take this off here for a second. I'm going to give it a moment to cool. And while I give it a moment, I apologize. I'm going to have to run into my other room and get my spray bottle. I'll be right back. Enjoy the beautiful wisteria, and I will be there in a second. Puppies. Puppies. No. You gotta stay with Mom. A few more minutes. I'm sorry. Okay. My puppies are so sad. They're like, please let us out. Okay. So now, yes, they're nice and cool now. So now let's check and see if they're fused together well. Now, I will say, when you go to peel them off, when you have something like this that has all these little pieces on this tiny little stem, you want to be real gentle when you peel them off. And what I'll do with something like this is I'll kind of peel around, grabbing these little points that are sticking out and kind of peeling up gently, gently. Boom. And that peeled up great, and everything is stuck to itself. So that one's good to go. I'm just going to stick it right back there for a moment. I'm not sticking it, I'm just laying it there. But it'll stay. Peel this one up, and see this big piece back here? It's what's keeping it, really holding all these other little pieces to it. So, ooh, there, that didn't stick, right? So I'm just going to really gently put a little bit more heat right down there. And I'm kind of hitting this other one too, just to make sure that that sticks. Now, if it doesn't want to stick and it's just really like refusing to stick, I can always just leave it on there and I can stick it in place on the background too. But I like to have it all one if I can. Okay, so let's see. Okay, that's doing better. Now see how this, I don't want to yank and pull this little stem. So I'm just going to lift gently up. Just kind of letting it kind of come up. Being gentle, be gentle, be gentle. Okay, there's that one. Now I'm just going to lay it right back down. I'm not really sticking it. I'm just kind of letting it. It's going to stick. See, it's not going anywhere. But it's not like stuck. Let's peel this one up. Peel, peel, peel. Getting down here. That one's not really okay. Oh, it's fine. And that's not really wanting to stick to that either. Let's see. Peel. Nope. Let's put a little more heat on that. Okay, there we go. Oh, I just had a visitor. My puppy, who loves him more than anything in the world, knows that my husband was just in here and was like, please, please let me out of this terrible, terrible prison back here and let me go see my favorite person. Okay, now that's all one. Yay. Okay, so these are all ready to go. They are stuck. They are 3 appliques now, and now we're going to put it onto our background. Okay, so yeah, she's not invited out here when I do tutorials. Okay, so now we're going to lay our Wisteria layout guide down. We're going to place this background on here. And we're going to line up, and you'll see edge of border, this straight line here. So we're lining that up with the edge of our border here. And I just kind of mostly worry about like this corner being in place and don't worry too much about anything else. Okay, that's in place. And now we're going to go back to our instructions and we're going to do what it says. So laying the applique pressing sheet onto the layout guide and prearrange wisteria flowers A, B, and C twice. Oh, we already did that, sorry. Skip. 11. On to the end of a completed background, arrange the appliques as follows. The wisteria silhouettes 1 through 5. Now that is these light pink ones here, right? So I'm going to pop them out. Pop all these guys out. Be gentle with the bottom. We don't want to tear them if we can help it. I'm almost done, Coco. She's just very upset. Okay, almost got them all. Last one. Okay, so 1 through 5. So they start over here. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's grab one. Peel the paper off the back. Now it's a little challenging to see through this, so I will again tell you, don't worry so much about everything being perfect. I line up kind of the bottom because it's in this lighter fabric and it's easier to see. I just get the bottom lined up and I just let the top kind of go wherever it wants. I'm not super worried about them being perfectly aligned. You certainly can perfectly align them if you want to, but I don't worry as much. And I also, if you notice, I will kind of put it ahead of it and drag it into place, and I've just noticed that that just kind of keeps these from, like, if you go this way they want to wiggle. I don't know, I just do that a lot when it's a design that has like a long point to it. I'll start before it and kind of drag it into place. Kind of lines everything up. It keeps it from wiggling like at the bottom. Okay, 3 is oh right here. 3, 4, it's right here, and 5. And then next we're going to arrange flower A. And so flower A is this one over on this side, on the left side. And flower A, what we're going to do first is put leaves 1, 4, and 3. So the leaves are in numerical order. And so you're going to put one of leaf 1, which there's actually only one of leaf 1. Pop leaf 1 out. We're going to put 1 down, and then a 4, and then a 3. So now if you're having a hard time seeing it, again, put your hand down, flip it up. There's one right there. So once I kind of know where it is, I can kind of sort of see where the line is there. And don't worry if it's perfect. 4, one of my 4s that I cut earlier. I don't know if you can hear my dog in the background. She is just pathetic. She loves my husband more than anyone else in the house. She lets us all know that we are very much secondary to him. And he just walked in to show me that he bought bread from our favorite place to get bread. And she is just dying that she is not allowed to go with him because she's been trapped in that room forever. Okay, then we're going to grab Wisteria A. And we're going to put it in place. Now, I can't see up here very well because of all the seams and everything. So I'm just going to line up again. I kind of like put it down. I kind of drag it into place. Make these guys, they're not exactly in place. I don't care as long as nothing's flipped upside down. Beautiful. Okay, now let's do flower B, which is the one on this side. So now we're going to do leaf a 2, a 3, and then a 4. My 2 has little threads all over the place, so I'm going to trim those. I don't like those little threads. Okay, so a 2 first. So I'm going to look over here. 2, 3, 4. Maybe. Yep, there we go. Oh, down here. 2, 3, and a 4. And then we're going to put Wisteria B, which is this one. Peel that up off of there. That's also why I like to kind of have peeled it up ahead of time too. It just lifts really easy. Okay, put it in place. Just kind of gently tap it all down. And then finally, we're going to do flower C, which is the rest of the leaves. So we should have a 3, 2 4s, and a 2 left over. So here's my 3, here's my 2, and I got 2 4s over here. And my 3s and my 2. Boy, this light green is just wanting to have like stringies everywhere. My goodness. I'm going to trim those off because I don't like them. What I don't like is I don't like when light threads, like this one, are on a dark part and you see them. I don't like that. So I'm going to trim them off. It just takes a second. Okay, so now we want to do 3 first. Now it's hard to kind of see where it is again, so I'm going to kind of lift this up. Peek. Okay, 3, 4, 2, 4. Lay this back down, put it back in its place. 3. Oh, I can see it's right there. 4. 2. And another tip too, if you're having trouble seeing through things, is for one, turn your light table up as bright as you can. But even through darker stuff or through things like this one, the reason it's also hard is because we have all these seams. Another thing is that if you're in a room where you're able to turn all the lights out around you, that really helps to be able to see what's the lines under here. If the only light is coming from underneath, then you see really, really well. And then let's put our wisteria down, our final wisteria. And put that down. Oh my goodness, Coco is not invited. Okay, so we're all done. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually fuse everything really well with steam. I think you need to stay in there with her so she'll maybe be quieter. She's gonna bark the whole time, right? I do this right now. That's fine, just hang out with them. I'm almost done. Just so she's not barking the whole time, please. Okay, so now let's do our fusing and we're done. So now what we're gonna do first is we're not actually going to start with like blasting it with steam and stuff. Right now, everything is laying down there, but it is like, nothing is sticking. I could peel these up right now if I wanted to, really easy, right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to warm the glue up and we want to get it to stick to the background. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little bit of heat down, not too much, and just for a few seconds, just sort of like what we did on the pressing sheet, just to warm that glue up and get it to stick to the background. Because what you don't want to have happen when you go to steam, especially if you are actually using a steam iron, you don't want to blast it with some steam and have something like one of these flip up and have the fusible sticking up, and then it sticks to your iron. So right now, while we have everything laying down flat and we know everything is in the proper position, we're just going to put a little bit of warm heat to it to get everything to stay flat. Okay, so that's good. That's enough. Now I'm going to actually do my fusing. So if you have a steam iron, you can certainly use your steam iron. I don't trust mine, so what I do instead is I use a spray bottle. And I actually started using a spray bottle because my iron died years ago and I got this replacement one and I don't like it, so I just continued to use a spray bottle and I think it works great. But if you're going to use steam, again, have it on about a medium heat. What you'll do is you'll take your iron, hold it about an inch above the space you're going to steam, blast it with steam for about 5 seconds. So count to about 5 or 6, then just set it down on it, let it go for about another 8 to 10 seconds. This is the part that most quilters have the hardest time with, and I tell people in class, don't touch your iron. Leave it there. Count to 10. Leave it alone. Let it evaporate all that moisture. Now I'm using my spray bottle, so I've sprayed the area really good with water, got it really damp, and I'm just going to set my iron directly onto it, and I'm going to leave it there for 10 seconds or so. I want all that moisture to evaporate. And what's happening right now is that steam is getting in there in the glue, and it's making it all, I can't think of what the word is. I can't, like, where it just sort of spreads out and becomes fluid and gets everywhere. Okay, now here comes my son and he's going to interrupt me now. Okay, next space. So we're going to keep going. We're going to do the next space and we're going to apply our steam And then I'm going to spray up here. And I'm going to do the steaming up here. And I'm just going to keep going on every footprint all the way around. And if it's still moist, which I can see that I do still because I have it on a medium, I'm turning mine up. I'm sorry, guys. My iron doesn't get super hot. So I'm going to put it up to the, not max, but to the hottest temperature so I can actually do my fusing correctly. So, oh, I'm going to turn this off. So we're just going to continue to do that over the entire thing. And that is going to fuse everything really well and make sure that all the glue is stuck really good to the background. Now I've already done it on the opposite end. So once this is done, I'm done. Now the other thing I could do, and something I also recommend if people are a little worried about whether or not their fusing has gotten through to all the layers, is to do it from the reverse. So if you wanted, when you're finished, flip it over, you can steam from the back, and that's fine too, because sometimes, not as much in this one, although you do have areas like this purple, maybe let's say here, right here where this dark purple is, right? You have dark purple, you have a little bit of yellow under there, you have this purple, and you have that really dark purple. You have the wine, the yellow, the light purple, and the dark purple. You have like 4 layers in there. So you want to make sure that steam reaches the bottom layer. So that's why sometimes I'll flip it over and I'll do it from the back as well, because I do want to make sure that that steam has really gotten everywhere. Okay, so if you need some tips on quilting, I will tell you that I did a video tutorial where I go over exactly how I quilt all my designs. So I highly recommend you watch that if you have some quilting questions. I also did a fusible one that is like we did in the little mini demo of how to cut those leaves. So I have that one as well. But the next step after this, of course, would be quilting. And I always get questions on that. And that's why I did the tutorial, because instead of me explaining it in every single video and adding, you know, another 10 minutes to these already quite long videos, I thought, let's just put one up. So now that everything's fused really good, you can now iron. So sometimes when you are doing the steaming, you know, your fabric will pinch up a little bit. At this point, if you want to kind of flatten everything out, you certainly can do that now. Okay, so we're finished with the wisteria. I've got both sides done. So now all I got to do is quilt it and finish her up. And here she is. I hope you guys all enjoy doing this. And again, it's one of my designs that isn't going to be available forever. So if it's one that you really like, I would highly recommend don't wait. Get it done now. My dog has escaped. I'm going to go. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.